Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into something pretty cool. We're going to peek behind the hacker's curtain, but for the good guys. We're talking about penetration testing, or as most people call it, pen testing.
You know, if you run anything online, anything at all, there's this one question you have to be asking yourself constantly. How do you find a weakness in your own defenses? Before the bad guys do, right? The best answer is to think like one of them. And that right there is the whole idea behind penetration testing.
All right, so let's get right into it. What does this really mean? What does it look like to, hack yourself for the right reasons?
Okay, so at its core, pen testing is basically a simulated cyber attack. And the most important word there is simulated. The whole point isn't to break things or cause chaos, it's all about discovery. Think of it like this. You're stress testing your digital house to see where the cracks are before the storm hits.
And yeah, that's really the heart of it. It's this proactive hunt for vulnerabilities. You're trying to find all the holes in your own security and patch them up before someone else comes along and punches right through them for real. It's an absolutely critical part of any serious risk management plan.
So why do companies pour so much time, money, and effort into this? Well, it's because the stakes are just incredibly high.
I mean, for starters, just look at the money. A real data breach is financially devastating. Back in 2021, the average total cost of a single breach was over $4 million. $4 million! Now, that is a very powerful reason to find your weaknesses first.
And, it's not always just about the financial risk. For a lot of companies, it's not even a choice. There are entire industries that are bound by regulations that actually mandate this kind of security testing. So if you handle credit card data, or you work with the government, or you're in banking, well, standards like these pretty much require it. It's not just a good idea, it's often the law.
And this threat, it's not going away. It's actually getting worse. Just take a look at this data from the FBI. The trend is crystal clear. Reported cybercrime and the money lost because of it has been climbing steadily, year after year after year. The world out there is getting more dangerous, not less.
So that brings us to the really crucial question, right? You can have all the best firewalls, all the fancy security tools, but how do you prove that any of it actually works when it's put to the test? And that brings us from the why to the how. You might think pen testing is just, chaotic hacking, but it's not. It's actually a very structured process. It's guided by established frameworks and a clear playbook that all ethical hackers follow.
So this right here is a perfect example. It's an industry standard called PTES, the Penetration Testing Execution Standard. And it shows you that this isn't random at all. It's a methodical 7-phase process. Now, we're not going to cover all 7 today, but we are going to dive into some of the most crucial first steps to see how a test really gets started.
And it's also important to note that not all tests are created equal. They come in a few different flavors. You've got black box testing, which is the most realistic simulation of an outside attacker. The tester starts with 0 information. Then there's white box, which is the total opposite. The tester gets full access to everything, source code, diagrams, you name it, to find really deep flaws. And right in the middle, you have gray box, which simulates, say, an attacker who already has a standard user account on the inside.
Okay, so the first real technical step in any test is to just map out the target's digital footprint. In the security world, we call this reconnaissance, or recon for short. It's all about intelligence gathering. And this recon phase kind of comes in 2 flavors. First, there's passive recon. Think of this like doing quiet research in a library. You're using public sources, Google, social media, public records, without ever actually touching the target systems. It's super stealthy. Then you have active recon. This is when you start, knocking on their digital doors with things like port scanning. You'll get way more information, but you also run the risk of getting caught.
And the toolkit for this passive phase, which is called Open Source Intelligence, or OSINT, is just massive. And it's all based on publicly available data. You can find out who owns a website, map out their entire network just by looking at DNS records, and even use things like the Wayback Machine to find old, forgotten pages on their site that might still be vulnerable.
Okay, before we go one step further, I need you to listen to this. This is, without a doubt, the most important rule in this entire explainer. The only thing that separates what we're talking about, ethical hacking, from a serious crime is a piece of paper. You must have explicit written permission to test anything. Without it, you are breaking the law. Full stop, no exceptions. All right, so with that crucial permission slip signed and the reconnaissance done, the tester is ready to switch gears. They move from that passive research to actively probing the target, looking for those open doors.
One of the absolute classic techniques here is called a sin scan or a half-open scan. It's designed to be stealthy. See, the tester's computer sends a message to start a connection. The target responds saying, "Yep, I'm here and ready to connect." But then the tester's computer immediately sends another message to abort the whole thing before it's fully completed and logged. It's exactly like knocking on a door and then running away the split second you hear someone on the other side. You know someone's home, but they might not know who not.
And when it comes to this kind of scanning, the undisputed king of the castle is a tool called Nmap. With just a single command, a tester can perform that stealthy scan across a target and, at the same time, try to figure out the exact version of the software that's running on any open ports it finds.
And that leads us right to the next step, which is called banner grabbing. It sounds funny, but it's super important. When you connect to a service, it often sends back a little welcome message. That's the banner. And this little bit of text can be an absolute goldmine of information because it often tells you the exact software name and, crucially, the version number.
So for example, a tester might connect to a web server and grab a banner that looks just like this. Now, they don't just know, oh, it's an Apache web server. No, they know it is specifically version 2.4.41. And that tiny detail, well, that changes everything. Because this is the aha moment of the whole process. Once you have that specific software version, you can just go look it up in public databases of vulnerabilities. You can find known weaknesses and even publicly available code to exploit that exact version. All of a sudden, the path to getting in just became much, much clearer. So we've covered the what, the why, and the very beginnings of how when it comes to penetration testing. It's not magic, and it's definitely not random hacking. It's a methodical, proactive defense built on one simple idea. Find the version, find the exploit. But honestly, we've just scratched the surface. So the real question for you is, where do you go from here? Which rabbit hole are you going to go down next? The world of web apps? The complex infrastructure of networks? Or maybe the fascinating psychology of the human element? The journey is all yours.